Nelson Mandela is remembered for abolishing apartheid, and he became the first black South African president. He changed his home of South Africa and the whole world through his fight in abolishing apartheid, or making everybody equal. He was a leader in the African National Congress, or the ANC, and later helped to lead the ANCYL. He believed in peaceful protest but was prepared to do anything needed to get an equal society. Mandela believed that everyone should be equal in South America, and he wasn't going to let minority whites take away the rights of his fellow African American people. Mandela became a leader of the ANC, and later that became the ANCYL. The ANCYL used methods of boycotting, strikes, civil disobedience, and non-cooperation, with policy goals of full citizenship, redistribution of land, trade union rights, and free and compulsory education for all children. Mandela was arrested for treason in 1956, which he was acquitted of eventually. Mandela began to believe that armed struggle was the best and only way to achieve change. Africanists challenged the ANC and eventually caused the ANC to lose militant support because of their violent ways. In 1961, Mandela led a 3-day national workers' strike. He was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison. In 1963, Mandela was brought to trial and this time sentenced to life in prison for political offenses and sabotage. While in prison, the country had coordinated a campaign to get Mandela released. This showed how much of an influence he had on the community. Once this happened, Mandela got offers of release if he wouldn't protest with arms. He rejected and finally got released after the leader of South Africa was replaced. The ANC was unbanned and restrictions were removed from political groups. Upon his release from prison, Mandela urged foreign powers to keep their pressure on the South African government for constitutional reform. He said he was committed to working towards peace. His struggle would continue until the black majority received their right to vote. Mandela became the president of the ANC, and with that position he worked with President F.W. de Klerk towards the country's first multiracial election. Mandela had to fight against the population of the black South Africans who wanted a complete transfer of power. Those people were causing violent eruptions and assassinated the ANC leader Chris Hani. After his hard work, Mandela had achieved his goal of abolishing apartheid. On April 2, 1994, South Africa held its first democratic elections. Mandela became President of South Africa in May of 1994. Mandela was also awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for his actions with President de Klerk. Mandela had to transform the nation from minority rules to majority rules. Mandela used the nation's enthusiasm of sports as a leap of reconciliation between blacks and whites. He used the nation's rugby team as the point to get all of the Africans to come together, and they made it to the Rugby World Cup. Mandela had also kept the economy from collapsing through his Reconstruction and Development Plan, which was government-funded healthcare, jobs, and housing. In towns and countries today, Mandela's struggle lives on. Minorities and majorities in the cities will always fight for equality. But if everyone looks back on Mandela's work, they will find a way to run the country fairly between everyone.